All right, so extremophiles. By the way, I think I have another graphic. Well, we can actually start with one of these. This is like the more intro pull-in. So this is just an introduction of what are these extreme environments we're talking about that the extremophiles live in. We're also going to touch into what the organisms are that live there and a couple of different locales of what they're like. This is just a couple of just intros of how are we defining an extreme environment, what are the creatures that are living there, and there's a couple of intros that I wanted to go over because they each kind of touch on different niches and ideas, which I think are going to be important to really gain the full perspective. Extreme compared to where humans live, comparing, well, but that's an important point, Smikes, right? Because these are extreme for not just humans, though. I would argue for most kinds of life. You're not going to find them in the hot, like the geyser of Yellowstone. There is very, very, very little life in the geysers of Yellowstone, right? And that's not just a comparison to humans. That's just in general, barely anything survives there. And most of these extremophiles, I know she said humans, but that's why we are here to comment. We're here to comment on it. Say, oh, that's true, Smikes. This is a very... It's more of an very introductory to just kind of grab people and get the people excited about science, which I think, you know, can have these incorrect connotations, but it's kind of fun too to highlight these differences and point them out as a potential new something, right? Like, why is this necessarily not correct? Why is it correct? What makes it correct? I think it's a fun way of thinking. All right, are you guys ready to delve into this? Is just the beginning parts. We're gonna have a couple of videos chatting about what are the origins, like, of where extremophiles are located, and then after that, we will touch on examples of them and how they survive, and then we're gonna get to their genetics as well. There are tons of genetics to go into. And there's a couple of cool review papers as well, which I think is interesting. I never considered ultraviolet radiation, because you're up at the surface of the water, as a form of extremophile, but that is true because UV radiation bombarding your genome and your cells means that you're going to have like breaks in DNA and high likelihood of mutation events happening. And so how do you prevent that, and how do you keep the organism from being destroyed? And they actually have their genes are highly resilient to UV bombardment, and they're very likely to repair their genome at a much faster rate, and like they just have better like internal reagents to keep everything together and repaired, which is one of the reasons why they should be studied, right? Because how does that even work? It's remarkable. So can I mutate my hand in my wash and cure machine superpowers? And Optic, do not do that. Do not do that. You will have, you will get cancer. You will get cancer. So guys, what Optic is talking about is, for the 3D printer, there is that dry station. The drying station and curing station is actually releasing 405 wavelength of light. That is ultraviolet. And that wavelength of light is utilized in a lot of scientific studies, but in this particular case, it's to cure and harden 3D prints. If you were to have your hand or any body part in there, that is a prime way of getting cancer. So you do not want to do that. You do not want to do that, Optic. Do these ultraviolet extremophiles have built-in sunscreen? In a way, NMD, they have a molecular built-in sunscreen. They're ones where if they get mutations, they're more able to repair them, and then they also have this like extra mesh in the cytoplasm that is a little bit molecularly like a sunscreen. It's not an actual sunscreen, but it's one where the absorption of the UV doesn't just run straight towards the DNA. They can like deflect it and like actually prevent themselves from getting hurt. Which is quite remarkable. Can we use them as sunscreen? So Dino Dave, that is a goal of studying them, is to be able to see, no biting yet, if there's a way you can hijack their cellular machinery and make us be more protected from the harmful effects of UV. Is it similar to a plant sunscreen? So no, that's the cool thing, Theo, is that this UV is so intense that if you were to place plants there, you wouldn't, they would just like fry. So like a regular plant couldn't survive it either because of, I mean, even if you like put it in a pot, right? So you made sure it was like normal water and normal living conditions, but that amount of UV is damaging even to the plants, which is pretty crazy cool. Is there a difference between the sun's UV and the machine's? It's intensity. So optic, it's that UV is the same wavelength that you get from the sun. It's just having it so close to you is just, you know, our atmosphere helps dissipate some of that UV that's coming in. So it's not as intense as it could be. And it's also going a long distance, right? But having it when it hits you, if in that machine, that's like your cells are being like straight up bombarded, like right next to the source. And that's kind of why that these water levels are also like a big issue, because if you're really deep underwater, right, you're less likely to be hit by those than if you're really high up on the surface in a really thin body of water. You're more likely to get bombarded. Yeah, the ozone layer helps, yeah. Which is unfortunate because then we have holes in the ozone. It's a whole thing. Deep Abyss, yes, Ninja. Deep Abyss is because of pressure, oxygen lack, and there are deep thermal vents as well. So there's also sometimes a heat component too, or a cold component. Is Larva Boy easier? No, it's harder. I don't know why, NMD. The larva, like, I know this is green screened out, but it's like dopey. It's like the wrong, like, it's not circled out appropriately. It's just like way too flat. I don't know what it is, NMD. It's not coming. It's not coming out yet. Working on it. It is insane, Ninja. It's like, how do these animals live? And that's actually what we're going to be talking about. We're probably going to do a multi-part stream on this, because they're so amazing to actually look at the genetics of it as well, of like why these animals are able to survive at such extreme levels. Sea snow does exactly right, Ninja. It's insane. It's like, why is that? And it's so how the animals survive is something that we're going to be going into the genetics behind that as well. Yeah, so there's freeze-thaw cycles, and there's actually insects as well that live on these particular, like, in the Arctic, and they go through it, and their blood, or hemolymph, actually has, like, antifreeze properties. Like from your car engine antifreeze properties, but it's a molecular antifreeze that works to prevent the freezing and the death of these organisms, which is remarkable that such a thing happens. This guy, I love this guy's hilarious. I forget what his name is, but he's super funny. I really like that actor. He always makes me chuckle. All right, extremophiles. It was optic. The first two were pretty fun. Danny, thank you, Alfie. Danny Trejo, yes, Danny Trejo. So to use NMD's words, Danny Trejo slaps. Did I use it correctly, NMD? Am I being a hip? Like, now NMD's probably like, oh god, it's cringy when an old person says it. Things slap, not people. Okay, thank you. See, Elfie's like, okay. Wait, no. He has tacos? No, Elfie, this is a thing? Is this... Okay, Elfie. Guys, I know we're derailing. Where is this, like a frozen foods thing? Is this a recipe? Is this a restaurant? Is this a food cart? Is this something that I can get? Elfie. You can't just leave it at that, Elfie. I need details, please. Trejo's Tacos in Southern California. Oh my goodness. All right, derail. Have you been, Alfie? I assume you've been. Oh my god, it's even his face is the logo. Well, I want some pictures. Oh, it's Danny Trejo modeling everything. That is amazing. This is amazing. I know folks who have. Nice. And so apparently it slaps. Nice. Thank you, Alfie. Check his Insta. Oh, I know his Insta is wholesome. He's a very kind guy. Gonna finish that. No worries, NMD. Enjoy. Elfie. He's like a really nice guy. He would something would be like very aggressive, but he's like instead just like aggressively nice, and I'm okay with that. He's like an old tomcat. He looks ferocious, but is an absolute sweetheart. Yeah, exactly. Nice. Also, guys, do y'all know that pup time right there? So that takes emotes, like, and it will randomly put them. So like Alfie said cat, any emote that pup time has a subscription to, or any channel that pup time has a subscription to that has the word cat in the emote description, it will pull up. And it will be at total random, but it will pull it up. And guys, this is a total aside and rabbit hole, but what I thought was really, really cool was that, you know, we have the Antonia Pride emote that we kept in place since June because everyone really, really liked that particular emote. So it turns out if you do Pride time, one of the emotes that it'll pick from at random is the Antonia Pride one. It's not guaranteed to do it every time you hit it, but apparently this emote, our little Antonia, has been making her rounds on other people's pages because Pup Time has a subscription, which I think is really, really cool. Okay, so how do you find extremophiles beyond just going to the places? Like, what are some of the scientific attempts at and how to identify these extremophiles? First up, chatter, Grit and Glitter. Rage time is a thing. You can have rage time. How you doing, Grit? Welcome on in. Oh, Elfie. There we go. Cliff. Cliff, look at those emotes, Cliff. Those are amazing. Those are absolutely amazing. And Grit, we are talking about extremophiles today. That is our deep dive. It's probably our part 1 deep dive. It'll be a multi-part series to look at how these animals live and survive in extreme conditions. Welcome the heck in. So it turns out you can culture bacteria in New Zealand, like in the frozen areas, but you need a very particular kind of culture. You just can't grow it on an agarose plate. Which this actually, guys, is a rabbit hole on its own that I wanted to put out there as an idea of how you define an organism being social. So if it's, we can take a single bacterium from like E. coli and grow it on a dish, and it can grow by itself. But these, you can't grow a single one. There needs to be this network in order to be growing in culture. So does that give some level of sociality to something as simple as a bacteria? And then what defines sociality? Are you limited in what is social and what isn't social based on if you have like a central nervous system or a decentralized nervous, like some flavor of nervous system? Does this count as social or not? I don't know if there's a right answer. It's very much dependent on what kind of scientist you ask, if this would be considered a social event or not. But it's still, I think, interesting to think about, because I've been kind of always on the fence of that notion of like what, hi Golganak, what defines social in like an insect. Because there's always people who say asocial or lack of social are some insects, and there's others like ants that are social, but there's a lot of evidence to show that fruit flies are social and not ace. So it's like, how do you define these things? Just out of context, that is the best comment right there on my screen. Is just NMD going, oh, I hate this poop show. NMD, you're absolute legend. I appreciate you so much. Okay, guys, there are probably extreme bacteria living. Thank you, NMD. She's like, oh my god, I just hate it. I'm sorry, Theo. Focus. Me. Returning back. Pulling back to level. Theo, look, I'm pulling back. Theo, it's going to be fun. Okay. Where to get extremophiles from. So, in particular, and how to culture them in the Arctic. or from the Arctic. No, actually, Grit, we actually have a command for that. Exclamation point for science. See, we have for science. We have for science here. We lean into the sciences. We also have Kevin. Theo, you saw the new thing today, right? The sparkle. You saw it, right? This was inspired by Smikes.
One of us. One of us. One of us. One of us.
The that one, Theo, was inspired by Smikes because of the moon people dust. Because of the throwing of the dust. Because remember, Smikes always does like blowing moon people dust into like people's faces, right, to turn them into moon people. And so obviously Kevin needed to have some moon people to see. Obviously Kevin needed to have moon people. It makes me chuckle far too much. And then I put the one in the center spinning because I don't know why. I don't know why. It made me smile. Made me chuckle. Yes, Grit. That animation, the one of us, which also pops up when someone follows. Theo, NMD, and Epic of Sam were asking for it for a few weeks. They're like, we need one of these. And Theo kept saying like, one of us, like in the chat, and it was like, okay, I need to get on this and make this as a thing because it's kind of fun, right? It's from originally from the Freaks movie. I think the audio clip is from a cartoon that I took. I think Backyarders maybe is the cartoon. But it was one of those where it's like, you know what, this is fun. Let's like, embrace it, and I don't know. I like it. I like it a lot. So, start yelling at, no, Theo. This is how things that are important to the community start happening, right? Someone starts it, other people pick it up too, right? And you're wholesome as ferret, Theo, right? So it's never anything bad. And then we're going to lean into it and embrace it. Just like look, guys, I had no idea people were going to like Kevin. Okay, when I made Kevin, I was like, I don't know, this is like my brain enjoys this idea. I didn't think anyone would really like have a hankering for Kevin, but everyone really likes Kevin. Right? And so now we have Purple Kevin. We have Hype Kevin. We're going to have... Tomorrow, we're making Pirate Kevin. Right? All the Kevins. Hi, Athena Cat! How you doing, Athena Cat? We have a new command for you to play with. There's a new toy for you to play with, Athena Cat. How are you doing today, by the way? How's the kitty? Poke Kevin? Not yet, Dino Dave. But a Pokemon Kevin would be pretty lovely. Someone combines everyone to change their username. I mean, look, Theo, that doesn't make shenaniganery. That makes that brings you into the family, Theo. Brings you into the family right here. Thanks for watching SciAnts Media, and be sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons to help our channel grow and support our science outreach and education goals. We can be found on Twitch most days of the week, and be sure to join us here for our next video. Thanks again, and stay curious, everyone.